Hello, Clix fans. Welcome to Dial H For Heroclix. I'm your host, Hunter Smith. With me today are the usual suspects, Drew and Austin. But we also have a special guest, host of the Starting Over podcast, Edward Shelton, also known as Dark Logos. His podcast can be found on YouTube. Is there anywhere else you can find it, Edward?
No, I just keep it on YouTube because iTunes isn't there, and you have to have someone that will host your file.
Yeah.
And Blitz TV kicked me out, so can't be hosted on iTunes anymore.
It is a pain in the butt. In fact, I would like to set ours up to be on YouTube too. But you can catch Edward's podcast on YouTube. He's got over 70 episodes now.
Yeah, episode 77 went up Friday, so yeah.
And Edward is a very knowledgeable person. From watching his videos, I was very impressed with his knowledge of the game. It's pretty obvious you've been playing for a long time. How long have you been playing?
It's going to make me feel a bit old, but technically almost 10 years. Almost. I started playing at Mutant Mayhem, and what's funny is I got into a game because I was playing City of Heroes, and they made City of Heroes Clix. And so I had the collector's edition of City of Heroes, so I had Statesman, like old, 12 range Statesman. So, with Fury, that's the worst part, I guess, freaking Battle Fury for most of his dial. But anyway, I started playing City of Heroes, I picked up that little figure, I was like, well, dang, this is sort of a little cool figurine miniature thing. I wonder if they make more of these. So I went to the comic book store, picked up a bunch of little individual boosters. So I pulled a Venom and a Carnage and a couple other different things. So I was like, oh, this is sort of fun. So then I started looking around to see if people actually played the game with other people. And then I saw some home games and whatnot, and then it led me to the WizKids website, and it's like, hey, guess what? Local venues, you can go and play with real people for prizes. And I thought, oh, that sounds great. I play chess. I should be able to handle this simple game of superhero miniatures. Go to my first tournament, and I got waxed hard by Ultimate Store. Ultimate Store, and thus began my long trepidation and love of HeroClix.
Yeah, that's one thing there's been a lot of new players asking us, advice for their first tournament, their first big tournaments, and we have a couple of new players at our venue too, and they've been asking me advice, and that's my number one thing is don't be discouraged when you get your ass kicked the first few times.
You will get your ass kicked
because it's just part of it, and you get better through playing. Clix especially is one of those games that it's so much of a time, it just takes time is the number one thing. It takes time to get better at the game little by little, and we all got our butts kicked when we first started. It's kind of now it's like an initiation, right? It's like a hazing type thing.
Seriously.
So, were you a big comics? Are you a big comics fan? For you, is it more you love the game of HeroClix and it's nice that comics are in it, or is it more like you just love comics characters and that kind of is your main love of the game?
See, and this is sort of weird. When City of Heroes was up and popping and good to go, that was my fix for superheroes. I love comics. I read comics. I would say being the child of the 80s and 90s, the XMen cartoon show, some of the earlier crappy Avengers cartoon show, what was it, the Fantastic Four, and it was Fantastic Four, Iron Man, and Spider-Man. Those were, your stuff, and so I read comics. I was a hardcore, Marvel zombie, if you want to call it that. Then I got into later because of Justice League cartoon show on Cartoon Network, just how good that was. That got me into DC. So I started reading the technically the late 90s, early 2000s reboot of JLA. I read that, like that was some good stuff. And I got into Green Lantern when they rebooted it. Officially rebooted it, not like the new 52 BS that they have now, but like
when Jeff Johns took over.
Yeah, like it was just 4 Lanterns. It was Kyle Kilowog, John Stewart, and Hal.
Yeah.
And they fought like Sinestro. Like that was the best. One of the best Green Lantern stories I've ever read. But my mainstays was actually that was a couple years ago, Black Panther, until they hosed over his book real bad and then canceled it.
I want a good Black Panther book.
But due to financial concerns, I sort of had to make a decision. It was either Clix or comics. I decided to go with Clix.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody this past week when we were playing Clix, and we were talking about Black Panther, and I was like, Brubaker should get thrown on Black Panther, because, I mean, they just took him off Cap, and I know he's kind of taken a hiatus from writing comics, but they need a new Black Panther series, and I think he'd be great. Like, I think he'd be a good writer. You need, like, just the character development and the kind of down-to-earth aspect, and I think Brubaker would be really good on.
If Stan Lee's to be believed and a Black Panther movie's in the works, I think they'll probably set up a comic with.
Well, if there's a Black Panther movie coming out, there's no way they won't do some runs of the comic.
They're going to do a comic, but I think the biggest thing that they did to screw over Black Panther is have them get divorced from Storm during the AVX, or technically the Gnome. And I thought, this is dumb. And it just added a whole bunch of negative connotations that I felt that didn't need to be there. It's like, the Phoenix Force, strong enough to break up, Black Panther and Storm. Forget invasion. Forget, people plotting to kill them and overthrow the throne. And it's just the fact that the Phoenix Forces came back. That's why they had to get divorced. That was bad.
Yeah, and they didn't even make a big deal about it either. They just kind of were like, "Yep, they're divorced. They're on each side, and that's the end of it." Like, you know what I mean? Like when go ahead.
It's a cultural element too. Like within African culture, I'm not saying African American culture. I'm talking like an African culture. It's not just like death and divorce happens, and we sort of move on like that. That's more American Western thing. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, you're just abandoning like the roots of all of this background rich story that you have here, because you think it's more sexy than Storm, comes around the universe, sleeping with whoever mega super powerful person comes along and they did before.
Yeah.
No, like Storm has dated like Dracula. Like a couple of people that invaded Earth. Like if you read Extreme XMen wanted to date Storm. Like some dimensional beings wanted to date Storm. Ford got lucky and dated Storm. I mean, like, literally, no one wants to alien, superpowered, mythical, cosmic deities. They want to date Storm. So, I don't know what's up with that.
Galactus wants to eat that world.
Wolverine has been getting it on with her here in the last few weeks in Uncanny X-Men, a couple times. What are some of your favorite pieces to play? Even going back to the very beginning, what would you say are like maybe like your top 5?
Oh God!
I know that's like the toughest question you can ask any Clix player, but
if I was to say of all time, first it would be UN, because once you go to enhancement, you never go back. Like once you realize how broken it is, that's when the whole new world comes into play. Crap, who else was I using the fire out of for years? Oh gosh, Mr. Fantastic Synchronization, because that was just brilliant technician. Okay, this is my preference, not because he's hyper-metal, but Black Panther from Avengers. I was complaining so long on the Wisdom forums that the whole, like, Infinity Challenge Black Panther's whole step of adventure, that it didn't make sense. Like, you're supposed to be able to fight Cap. put it to a cat. He gets whacked by like old cats all the time. And then even like what was it? Oh crap. They read their cats, not like secret, not secret, they like older than that. It was I forgot which horse, that cat.
Yeah.
Like that, it didn't add up. So I was like, this is dumb. They need to read those. So Avengers cat. I'm not gonna start with that. Avengers Black Panther. This one is I abused him because I had him, and not many people have him as Stardust. You had to play like way back for Coming to Galactus, like for a long time before we got crazy on the system. 1980 was ridiculous to make that instrument to piss people off. If I look to now, I would say Bring Your Own Out, because I was pumping the Bring Your Own Out hype trade before like most commentators were on it on the realms, which is a whole other conversation. Last but not least, all my incarnations of War Machine that I have. Because I have the REV from Armor Wars. I have the Free Comic Book Day War Machine. I have the War Machine from the Iron Man 3 movie set, which I paid $25 for.
What? Dude, I would have sold you one for like $5.
I got it like 2 weeks after all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, no, 3 weeks, because I was in Topeka at the time working, and they were like, it's at Target. Go to Target. I went to 3 Targets and certain characters trying to find a freaking Iron Man movie 3 display. And guess what? Man had it. Not a darn freaking like that. So I realized that I had spent probably about $30 in gas. So I was like, nope. Go to eBay. Next everything you do, eBay. No gas, no ones are buying.
They did kind of mess up the release on Iron Man 3. I remember because our local group was making a big deal about it. We had so many people that were out looking for it, and we would like message each other like, "Oh, this place has it." But we have 2 local Targets, and it was a good month after the set was released before they were actually like could easily be found in the stores, and even then they sold out super quick. I think which War Machine do you like the best? I still like the Free Comic Book Day one the best.
If I had to say, like, just putting on a team, because I have it and I can sort of lord it over some of my friends, is the Fat Order from Armor Wars. Because he was so dang hard to get. And back in the day when all you needed for Thunderbolts was the Avenger team symbol, he was hella broke.
I imagine.
Now he's okay. I would say, like, the close number 2 is the new War Machine.
Oh, I love
because he has double attack. Like people don't think about that. Is you give him enhancement and you can do 7 damage. And then you can pick like energy explosion, range combat, expert, or psychic blast, depending on what you use. It's like, oh, you have high damage reduction, psychic blast. Oh, you have energy shield deflector, combat reflector, range combat expert. It's like, oh, you all come together, energy explosion. Like, how many ways can I kill you?
Yeah.
That's what I like about him.
Yeah, I still need to bust him out. He does look pretty good.
He's 220, but he's so good.
So in your last 2 episodes of your podcast, well, I guess I shouldn't say the last 2 because you just put one out a couple days ago that I was just watching this morning.
Well, last night, that's a different story. My Audacity crashed. Like, I record on like a Monday or a Tuesday, and I had been doing other things, and then also had been lazy on my show, and then I'm like, oh yeah, system scan with virus protection. Yeah, do that. They ain't cleared out my temporary files. I don't care about that. What's stored there? Reboot. Your show is no longer there.
Ouch.
Okay. So I had to re-record yesterday and rush to put everything out so I could have it on the
Well, the 2 episodes before this most recent one, you were bringing up some excellent points about the current meta, and specifically you had one episode on Spiral and Shatterstar.
Yeah.
And the main reason that I have you on today is to weigh in on our main topic, which is the HeroClix watch list, which I'm sure by now you're familiar with.
Yes,
Yeah.
watch list.
So I want to start off by asking your opinion of the watch list in the first place. Like, if you think it's a good idea for the game, or if it's actually going to hurt the game, because I've seen people actually try to argue either way. I was wondering your opinion first before we start on each individual piece on there. Is it good for the game or bad?
I think it's a mixed bag, and it's the same thing when I said I was crying out when they announced Primes that this is WizKids trying to control the meta, and it's not going to work as beautifully as they think it's going to. I think it's good because you have to understand, old WizKids, pre-Nika, would never admit that any mechanic is wrong.
This is
Because
true.
we have big crawler because they wouldn't nerf structural integrity field. Like, people don't realize that. Like, a lot of our degrading elements in the game that makes it unfun is because WizKids hasn't recognized, you know what? We jacked up hard. And so this is good. Where it's bad, and I'll leave some of my conversations with certain people out of it, is because WizKids create so much stuff, and their playtesting and production stream is not refined, what it's going to do is there's some things that design or playtesters or X, Y, and Z people involved making the invisible sausage that we call HeroClix thinks is going into the grinder is not going into the grinder. If you're supposed to have this lovely pork beef sausage and no one puts pig inside, I'm sorry, you do not have delicious pork beef sausage. You know, you just have a beef sausage. And that's what's going on. There's elements that one hand isn't talking to the other hand, isn't talking to the foot, isn't talking to the mouth. And because of that, they're going to fix some things and they're going to make some things worse. And I know for a fact of one thing in particular, they don't call former world champions to come to play test. They talk to them during design. They don't call them to play test afterward. So that says a lot in my opinion, where in other games like Yu-Gi-Oh!, like Magic, like freaking when I was playing Virtual Body System, past world champions had at least a conversation with game design now and then, and that's not with HeroClix.
Yeah, I was going to say Magic's big about that. Pro Tour winners basically just hang out at Wizards all the time, and they're constantly testing new stuff. They're constantly talking about stuff because they've had issues in the past with pros leaking stuff, actually. But I fully agree there. WizKids really drops the ball on their playtest in general, and they need to bring in more meta players that understand and can comprehend what pieces are going to be problem pieces.
I think you brought up a good point accidentally, too. It kind of triggered in my mind is they're putting sets out so quick that it's impossible for them to be able to playtest this stuff properly. I mean, they're cranking out. I mean, you look at all the upcoming CTD sets that are just coming between now and Christmas, and then plus the Invincible Iron Man and all these other starters and stuff. It's like it's good and bad. Like, we can't playing multiple times a week. You still can't keep up, you still can't play like all the pieces that you need to play. You know, and I don't see how they possibly have enough time to be playtesting and getting all these interactions with the current meta. You know, it's what you said. They don't have the people on there. Like, they don't have enough playtesters, and they're not doing playtesting the way they're supposed to be, and they're cranking out too much product too fast. So.
Well, and see, and this is goes into one of the bigger problems that I would say when kids came back to being in our lives again from the grand hiatus is they came to us and he said the following thing. He's like, okay, is it okay that we reuse sculpts as long as we put different dials on there? And everyone was like, yes, just not super rares and chases because they need to maintain their value. But anything else, feel free to reuse the sculpt. So they did, and now we complain about it. Okay. The next thing that Zoran came to us and said, hey, how many sets a year do you think is really good, for your purchasing? And we were like, as long as you put it out there, we will throw money at it. And that's what they did, and now we're complaining about it. So a lot of it is we asked for something, not knowing what they were thinking, and they asked us questions, and they thought that they were catering to what we actually want.
Right.
So,
yeah, and I feel bad complaining we have too many sets coming out. Like, it is a good thing, but again, I think it does. They're making it harder on themselves to play test when they're cranking out so much stuff. And players, it's not possible to play, the majority of these pieces before the next sets come out. It's just not possible.
What they could do is, like, with Magic, they send a master list or an entire book of all the cards they just released. They could send it to, past world champions or something and say, hey, do you think this is broken? Or, hey, do you think this will break the game?
And see, here's the problem with that. Okay, and I was involved with playtesting with Dan this year before Gen Con. Is this okay? If you said 2 months before Gen Con what was going to win Gen Con, no one would have said Ghost Rider. Actually, like 3 months. No one would have said Ghost Rider. No one would have said Brother Voodoo. Everyone would have said Team Bases. Okay. We had a meta that was morphing due to the extreme reality of team bases. Then Heroes for Hire gets dropped. Then GCPD gets dropped, ATA, and all this stuff comes out, and then everything changes. And when I talked to MB Perk, he said, oh yeah, we had the ATAs designed before team dials, which lets me know that everything that we're looking at in the meta, we're trying to reverse engineer of like, well, what's this kid's thinking? And they're like, we see downfield. And so it puts us at a disadvantage because they have a grand Illuminati sort of plan to rule HeroClix, and we're sitting here trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
It's accurate.
And it makes it so that we're not in a situation where I would say there's some mutual trust, let alone, I don't want to use the word lack of respect, but I think both sides sort of think the other side is sort of stupid.
I fully agree with
I
that.
think that's really what's sort of going on. Is game design is like, well, why aren't you doing this? And then the players are like, why is game design making that? Don't they know I'm going to do this? So.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing for the game. I don't see how it can necessarily be bad unless they overdo it. But I think most of these things, a very slight tone down on all of them, are not on all of them, but on the main ones, just a very slight change here or there can make a world of difference and make enough of a difference where it's not going to make that piece that some people's arguments are, oh, I saved up $50 to get this Justice League team base and now you're going to make it worse. It's like very slight changes will still make the piece a great piece, but not make it where you have no fun playing the game when you play against it or with it, for that matter. So I think I don't see how it can be bad for the game unless they overdo it. What we're going to do is we're going to go through each item, first discussing if it even needs to be changed at all, in our opinion, and if so, how should it be changed? What is the main thing about this item on the watch list that makes it quote-unquote broken in the first place? The first thing that's listed is team bases, specifically the working together ability. I will say I don't think they should ban anything, period. I think banning is a little bit bad for the game, especially when they have the whole errata system.
Because then it kind of negates the point of playtesting to a point, because they'll just ban anything that doesn't end up like how they want to.
I think if they do end up banning anything, I can foresee it being team bases, but I like as far as, Worlds, they can say, no team bases, or Golden Age, they can say no team bases or whatever. Kind of like they did, no tactics. But I don't see them banning anything, but if they do, I would think the one thing they might ban would be team bases. But I think some kind of nerf, they specifically list working together as the thing that they're looking at. A slight nerf.
I would.
Go ahead, sorry.
I would say this, and this is some of the other side of it that we have to consider too. Whatever nerf that they put in place still has to make the mechanic or the idea of buying blind product profitable for both the store and WizKids.
Exactly.
Your pocket, really, they don't care about that as much. Okay? But it really comes down to it being profitable for WizKids and for the store owners, because the store owners are the ones that complained after GSX that they couldn't move super boosters. Okay? And so some people might be saying, well, oh, look, they came out with these new mechanics, and it was to make sure that they were OP and then tone them down. And no, the main purpose was to sell boosters so that the stores would stop getting on their back. So I look at them fixing, working together. I don't see them ever banning team bases, because that's going to cost them money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the sad truth of it. The most balanced thing I've sort of brainstormed with a couple of people is you can't use working together if you use solo adventure, and if you use working together, you get -1 attack and damage for each additional attack you do, up to the rule of 3, minimum 1 damage. That way it's in scale with multi-attack. You can still do 6 crazy attacks, or have solo adventure and heal up your Superman to full or your Batman to full or whatever, and keep that shenanigan in place. And you can do a bazillion attacks, but each attack that you do is less attack, less damage, so that it's still in line with multi-attack, it's still in line with dual attack, it's still in line with transporter. The way it is now, it just doesn't have any penalties.
I completely agree, especially on your part about being able to use working together being able to use solo adventure during working together. I think, at first when team bases first came out, I was looking at it from the aspect of making this many attacks with no negatives, the negative to multi-attack and the negative to duo attack is crazy. Mm-hmm. But then as you play them and you play against them, you realize that solo adventure is just as good, if not the main thing that is making the team bases be so strong. You know what I mean? Getting those extra points and giving you so many options. You have all these, your team base is basically a Swiss Army knife, and each little piece on it, whichever piece you need for the situation, you're going to pop off of there. And it's just, I agree with you. I think they need to make either they need to make working together a double power action, or they need to make solo adventure not be able to be part of the working together. I think you hit it on the head with that.
Yeah, and here's one of the biggest things where WizKids started to shoot themselves in the foot. And I think, I don't know, Ultron is the first one to do it, but Ultron is the first, no, it wasn't Ultron, it was Master Mode. Actually being able to bring characters from outside of the game into the game and increasing your force cost. When they introduced that mechanic, I think that was one of the, no, dog, y'all messed up. You shouldn't have done that, because the biggest problem with team bases is all of a sudden I have, hypothetically, a 600-point full dial team base, and it's a 1,000-point game, and I have, of course, all my fodder to pimp out my team base. But once I can say, oh yeah, in that 1,000-point game, I pull off a 200-point Gladiator, then a 100-point War Star, and Hussar with my Shi'ar team base. Oh, okay. So now I've added extra 400 or almost 500 points to my point force, and it's like, oh yeah, that just gave me an extra, 11, 12 damage to throw out, and I can still be crazy good with my team takes. It doesn't make sense.
That's the main thing that they're gonna. This is the one thing on the watch list. This and Heroes for Hire that I definitely see a change coming on both of them. To be honest, even Spiral I can slightly overlook more than I can working together and Heroes for Hire. But let's move on to Spiral. And first, do you think that a change even needs to be made on Spiral at all?
I will say this: if the designers would actually man up and say, you know what, we do design for 300, but we can make some countermeasures for above 300, then I would be fine with Spiral. For the pure fact that game design still doesn't think and has a set point formula that scales properly upward to 1,000 points sort of makes me want to slap them some days. Spiral, I think Spiral's biggest problem is the way she is now. She's only going to be good in a mystical team because Robot doesn't have the force to really help her out, and because we're in the look, I have plus 18 to map, and I can hit you and kill your entire team in the first turn type meta. She isn't top meta like people are saying she is.
Yeah.
She's like B plus meta. Really good if you're playing average people that are playing like normal teams. But if you're playing other people with meta teams, it's not that good. I think she was there to solve turtling, and with a couple of my conversations, she was there to make Melee overcome their shortcomings of being shot down on their way to engage. And so I have other thoughts in my head of how to fix Melee, but that's a conversation for another time. But I think with Spiral, what they need to say is this: is Spiral a double power action in which she can open up the portals, characters of her point value or less can go through, or you can say characters of any point value can go through. Her range for her portals is 8 in line of fire. So that way, if someone TKs out Spiral and then she does portals, the portal's still going to be on the other end of the map. But, some people have to run up and go through the portal, and, it's not going to be turn one, let me take my team from my starting area and be on your starting area, sort of thing.
Having played against Spiral, I think my biggest issue with her isn't that she's a meta piece per se. My issue with her is that she's a degrading piece to local metas.
Yeah.
She's highly unfun to play against is my problem. You get someone with a really strong hypersonic piece on the other end of that portal, and they throw you on, let's say, Realm of Death. They just keep moving the portal up and hypersonic punching you every turn over and over, and it really isn't fun to play against.
She definitely does get exponentially better as the point cost of your as the point build goes up, and like we said when they first spoiled her, everybody was the freaking Heroclix Holocaust was happening on HC Realms, and I think we kind of preemptively I said I think she's too expensive to be on the winning team at Gen Con. She's in the 300 point meta, but as it goes up, as the point build goes up, she is a huge problem. She definitely needs a slight fix to her portal trade. I think we all are in agreement on that. Yep. Other than the obvious, make the portals have to be within within her movement value or something like that. A guy on Reddit I was chatting with, and he brought up a good point. You could make it to where when people go through the portal, they can only take a movement through the portal, where they can't take a power action like a charge or a running shot or a hypersonic or something like that.
And I just come back and it's like, hey, guess what? I have Lex Luthor, I have Quasar, and I hose you.
Right.
That's the problem. If you said I can go through the portal and then I can make no other actions, then yeah. And then people would use it a lot more tactically. They wouldn't be using it to spawn right on top of you. The other thing comes in is I think I already did a show, and I said, look, you use the cop car get in, spawn, hit who you want to hit, go back onto the portal thing, spawn on the other side, and then be in position out of the portal area for another card to go through and do the exact same thing.
Right.
And you will never take a power action with your top cards the entire game. And that's where it becomes frustrating is we want to say, like, oh, we limited to moves. If it wasn't for the fact that they gave damage abilities to move action.
Yeah, whenever...
I would fully agree with it.
My argument to that was Lex. That was the first thing that triggered my mind is, well, Lex would still be able to go right through and then boom. Something to where, or maybe once you... I don't know, that wouldn't work either. I was going to say once you move through the portal, your movement stops or something like that, but yeah, it definitely needs to be cut down as far as how far she can reach, and then some other stipulation needs to be put on it. But that one definitely, I think, does need fixed. I still think currently with the pieces we have, though, she's not going to affect the meta as much as everybody is worried about as far as 300 points. Moving on to Heroes for Hire, which is a huge one. Honestly, the only thing that I don't know, Heroes for Hire, when I look at that on this list, it's one of the hardest ones for me to give suggestions on how to fix it. The simple answer to me would be make it more expensive, because I don't think in and of itself it's a horrible idea for it. ATA, I think it's a good ATA, and I think that the majority of the pieces it goes on, it's a fair ATA, but it's just, in my opinion, it's just so undercosted. 8 points to do an extra 6 damage, and in conjunction with the prep time is the big issue. Yeah. Whether you're using Iron Fist or Ghost Rider or whoever they put out with Heroes for Hire, I think it's the combination of the two. And that's one point to bring up while we're talking about this is it'll be interesting to see if one of these things gets changed, how much it's really going to affect the rest of the things on the list, because a lot of these go hand in hand. One of the, you know what I mean? Like, they go hand in hand so much.
Brother Voodoo and Heroes for Hire.
That changing one of them, it can really, Brother Voodoo and Heroes for Hire. I mean, if you change Heroes for Hire, Brother Voodoo definitely doesn't need to be changed, in my opinion. I don't think he needs to be changed anyways, but what were you saying?
I was going to say that, like, with Heroes for Hire, I feel like a point increase, though, isn't going to fix the meta problem necessarily. Because you're only unless you're playing like a Brother Voodoo Ghost Rider team or something like that, really you're only slapping it on one character. I think, honestly, they're going to end up having to change it mechanically. Either the free actions will have to be limited to just attacks of some sort, or something, just to help lock it down a little bit.
Make it like a regular close combat attack range instead of just an action. What do you think, Edward?
I sort of was trying when they put this on here, but I also knew it was necessary because I love me some Colleen Wing and Misty Knight duo. And when they showed that pretty much like, oh, here's our new ATAs, I said on my show, I'm like, just wait, someone's going to break this so bad. And it had happened, but it wasn't with the figure I thought it was. It happened with Ghost Rider. I thought it was going to be Colleen Wing and Misty Knight. I think really what probably should go on is if you sort of look at like Heroes for Hire and how they operate, they're mercenaries, sort of to speak, and there should be something a little bit more thematic of that. And maybe even sort of showing like, hey, when Misty Knight got more in charge of how more organized it can become. I would like to see something more representing that instead of, hey, we just needed a mechanic, let me just slap a name on here, and here's this mechanic, and this group just randomly gets it. I think if one or two things need to happen. I think if they're going to let it stay the way it is, it has to have one caveat, and that caveat has to be this team ability can only be used if you have 2 action tokens, or this team ability can only be used if you have 1 action token, and pushing damage cannot be ignored. Then there would be some downsides to it. And so if you did have the belt, it wouldn't matter. You would still take pushing damage. So there's a disadvantage for being able to do 2 attacks in one turn, or being able to do an attack when you have multiple action tokens. I mean, just like Masters of Evil. Like, they can keep pushing, but there's a penalty. It's unavoidable pushing damage.
Right. So we just mentioned the utility belt. The utility belt is on here, but specifically it lists the prep time special power. Now, this is a hard one for me to judge, personally, whether it needs changed or not. I remember when No Man's Land started, and everybody started realizing how good prep time was, whether you're putting it on Flurry or whether you're putting it on whoever, carrying them over with the bat cycle or however you want to do it. I mean, that was kind of the start, in my mind, of the meta turning into Alpha Strike so heavily. That and Barda, they kind of came hand in hand, and that was... I mean, you had prep time, and you had the also in the same set, kind of in the same week or two, come out of her being able to get all the way across the map. And we had tactics we had one or two tactics like that could get you across the map and do massive damage before that. But I feel like those two were just so heavily played and such good primary examples of that was the first time that the meta started leaning. That was the beginning.
Caped Crusader too.
And here's the thing, though. Like, when you talk about someone getting across the map, it was freaking Caped Crusader as well.
Yep.
That was getting across the map. Because you were getting that Oracle. Once that Oracle came out from that Fast Forces, there was nothing stopping Caped Crusader from getting to the other side of the map, popping you really hard with the utility belt, and then, whipping back to the starting area. And what made everything worse, like after Barda and the utility belt civilians came out, was when they said, "Hey guys, you love that Caped Crusader, right? Here, let's make everybody Caped Crusader by using the bat signal." There you go. So they created a whole different other problem with the Alpha Strike thing. Because again, it was all meant to stop the stalling of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right.
Which, if we look back, and somebody like 15 years from now is like, how did HeroClix F up? They're like, Infinity Gauntlet. And that's the start of all this other crap. If we really look at it.
You're absolutely right, because that was when we first started playing in actual venues, was Infinity Gauntlet, and it was my biggest complaint. I would bitch every week how slow the games were and how much it slowed the game down, because you would just sit in your starting area and spin all day. And it was slowing it down so much it was making the game boring, and I feel like it's obvious that all these additions since the Infinity Gauntlet were ways to try to remedy that, but they just kind of went a little bit too overboard. Because now when you look, give me the choice of a team. When I'm building a team and I have my options of resources now, the Infinity Gauntlet is actually at the bottom of my list. I'll take the belt or the Book of Skull over the Infinity Gauntlet any day. Yeah. I feel like they may have overshot it a little bit. What are you going to say, Austin?
My biggest issue with the belt, I think, is I've played the belt some days without prep time and used it for its objects, used it for its little tricks and everything, and had an absolute blast with that damn thing.
Gas pellets are the bomb.
Oh, I know.
I don't know why nobody uses them.
Like, between the grapnel guns and everything, like, just taking advantage of the belt for the objects is really fun, actually. And it gives some pieces utility that don't have it normally. I love the belt like that. But when people started using prep time and started slapping the +2 and just charging out for an alpha, it really just drained the fun of the belt for me, because that's all it became, was a stat stick.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know, and we'll see what Edward has to think, because he's a little bit more intelligent than I, but I don't know that prep time really needs changed, especially if they change some of these other things on this list. What do you think, Edward?
Here's the problem, and I said this last year, not this past one, but the one before, 2012. I said they gave out stat mods like candy.
Bingo.
And if you look at last year's Gen Con, and Alex and I, and actually, you know what? I think this is a point where I disagree with all the previous world champions that I've talked to. Is this? I think the stat mod element that we have in our game is bad. And I think we overlook it because of the rule of 3. And it's a problem. It's a big problem. I have Eradicator, so when Superman dies, I get a +1. Then I have the Infinity Gauntlet, so that I can get a +1 and possibly a +2 of everything. And if you look at what you had to do with each to even get close to that, you would need a huge pit crew plus Brilliant Tactician with the Super Perplexer. Heck, you might need 2 Super Perplexers. You couldn't fit that in 300 points. And then it just said, hey, do you like this character? Slap an Infinity Gauntlet on top of it, and then it's usable. Yeah, this is great. And instead of good game design and making all pieces sort of usable, just slap that Infinity Gauntlet on there. It makes everything awesome. But sort of going back to prep time, I think prep time has to go, because if you look at the dials, you have a chance of landing on +2 really easily throughout the dial.
Yeah.
It's the fact you can pick Flurry so easily. Like, Flurry is on click 13, which means that if you just normally play through it, you would get to Flurry about mid-game, or there's a chance that you would pass over Flurry. And I think if prep time goes, then Ghost Rider's ability to be crazy good, and a couple other characters, even Barda, from being crazy good, it goes away. It takes a lot of the wind out of the sails of melee pieces, though.
What do you think?
They were depending on Flurry.
What if they just changed it to +1s? What do you think about that? Like, still leaving the powers on, but just doing +1s instead of +2s?
If they said, hey, no more +2, I still don't think it's going to fix anything, because of the pure fact of Pseudosaurus.
Yeah.
Pseudosaurus giving you super strength. It says, hey man, I place that here heavy wherever the heck I want to, because once I go through that hell gate that Spyro created, I'm going to pick up that heavy and smash you. So it's the fact that the Pseudosaurus gives you an additional chance for more stat mod.
Yeah,
and I
that's true.
think that's the problem. If they erase the Pseudosaurus and say no super strength for you, you just get Battle Fury, then a whole lot of things change. Then I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. Just make sure it's all +1, random stats, or you can even say, hey, keep the +2 on there. Pick one stat that gets +2.
Somebody on Reddit brought up a good point. Another possible fix for it, although it's a little convoluted, but they were saying maybe after you use prep time, or if you use prep time, you can't be carried or placed by TK and things like that. Like, that would help slow it down a little bit, but still, the +2s is just so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's our problem is this. It's the moment that we say, hey guys, let's solve for not creating a situation where crazy mobility is able to be combined with offense. Then game designer says, you know what? That's a good rule, but guess what? To sell some more packs, F all that, son. We made this one figure that just ignores that rule. And to quote Ravi Zacharias, the guy I listened to, he said, if you tear down the fences, you have to ask yourself, why were the fences there in the first place? And I think that's the problem game design is having right now, is they haven't asked themselves, why did we put these rules in the game for the first place? Because in all honesty, if they got rid of no action after taxi, all our mobility issues are gone. All our issues that we're having in the meta are gone, because then all those cheap, high movement guys, all that stat mods and turtling and everything else is gone. Team bases, mobility issue, it's non-issue anymore, because I can get to mid to the other end of the map and shoot you in turn 2. Everyone can.
Right.
But that's a different story. I'm derailing your show. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Back to
that's an excellent point. It is a lot of these things, team bases in general, like you said, they take away the whole fact of them putting those things in place so that you couldn't cross the entire map, and then now they're just putting in pieces that do it easily. So that's an excellent point. What were you gonna say, Austin?
Well, I was gonna say Drew's got a point over here.
Drew,
okay, so he's right though. Stat bonuses have like made the game more dull. I mean, look at Fear itself, a prime example of where they have gone way too far with stat bonuses. It's you roll a dice and you got a 90% chance of hitting a roll.
I mean, it is funny because we play 600. We play double Fear itself, and we play you can do 600-point matches, and they're over in 25 minutes because nobody misses an attack. What were you gonna say, Austin?
I was gonna say, this whole bit reminds me of why I do like the Book of Skulls. Because you don't stay on the values, you have to be smart when you do have them. But I think the problem is free action. Partially, I think free actions should trigger flip and prep time. I think that would help at least if they're not going to get rid of prep time entirely, which I'd be completely fine with. That's actually what I want them to do. If free actions caused you to roll the belt as much as power actions to a point, I think that would help change things too. Or just an attack in general would. Because then
that's a good point. But here's the problem with that. If I was able to have a chance of spinning that dial twice in the turn, or more than twice in the turn, because there are characters they're able to do multiple free actions, here's what I would say. The ability to say, I stop on the special powers has to be gone.
I agree.
Like anything that would cause it to stop, that has to be gone. So, and even if you says, hey, I landed on a stat mob, here, I'm going to use perplexed. Oh, I landed on +2. Now I'm really awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I can see that new scary world coming too, but at the same time just saying, like, oh, I did a free attack, then, yeah, stat mod, not stat mods, spin that dial. Go ahead and do that. But you have a wording issue because, like, flurry. Flurry is a free action that allows you to do, like, an additional melee attack. So with flurry, kick in, and it becomes a lot of rules hassling that it sounds like great for us because it's like, yeah, that stops that crazy BS. But from, game design's perspective, we're like, man, this is super complicated. And I would give them credit while they're trying, at times, quote unquote, to keep things simple. I said trying. I didn't say they were achieving it. I said trying.
It's okay.
Sometimes them trying it actually makes things worse. But anyway.
Yeah, I fully agree, though. The flurry problem is a big one. It's just overall, I think, prep time just, I would be fine with it dropped. It would bring the belt to where I want it, it would make it worth its points still, and it would still be a fun piece to play without being a requirement.
Bringing up the flurry thing, it kind of reminded me, they I'm sure you saw it, they ruled that basically now, used to be if you had flurry, and let's say, for example, you're hitting a Mystics opponent, if you, with the first attack getting knocked off of Mystics, you would no longer get to do your second attack of flurry. And same with hypersonic speed. If you moved in and then hit and then lost it, you would no longer get it. But now they've ruled that you will continue to use the action that you had started, in addition to any powers that you get that will show up on the dial after that. However, you use the numbers from the click that you're on.
Yeah.
Just a quick note for everybody listening. There was another thing that got changed just this week that I wanted to real quick add in here for our listeners. The dynamic duo from Batman 66, they have a defensive power. They can use super senses when the dynamic duo is targeted by an attack. Increase the duo's defense value by the attacker's printed damage value. This power can't be countered or ignored. Now, the important part that this plays is the last sentence that says this power can't be countered or ignored. It used to be when you would pulse wave a character who had something like that, like Brainiac has a defensive power similar to this. They would they would always rule that character would not get super senses. However,
they'd get the other part.
They would get. Yeah, so basically now they're saying that Pulse Wave can't ignore the entire paragraph of that power.
Yeah.
Every single facet of that power. So it used to be if you had, let's say you had a defense ability that gave you impervious along with something else, and then at the end it would say it can't be ignored. It used to be you would just get this special thing, but you still would get no impervious, so you would take the damage. Now you would still get impervious. You get the entire defensive power, which it makes total sense.
It does.
Wording wise. I'm not sure why it was the other way to begin with, but just a quick note for everybody. So if you have a defensive power that says it can't be ignored, that now applies to the entirety of that defensive power and not just one section, unless it specifically says this part, of it can't be ignored. But that was an important note I wanted to throw in at some time.
I'm reading the orange little commentary now, and I'm like, oh gosh. And see, and this, it comes back to, is game design has created this sort of backdoor of like, oh, we really want this to be good because we want you to buy it. We're not going to buy it unless it's sort of broke. And because it's sort of broke, we know that we have to create something else, even more so next time, to make it a little bit more broke. And this is one of those instances where, was I interested in buying this set? Not really. Has this sort of piqued my interest in buying this set? Maybe if I had more money. Is that a progress from where I was literally, 5 minutes ago? Yes, and I mean, and that's the one thing I think us as players keep forgetting is like, this is a business. They still have to make money, and they still have to make you want to buy.
Right.
And that's part of the balancing act that's going on.
The next piece on the list is the GCPD ATA, and I'm going to let you go first because I'm biased on this because I'm a huge GCPD fan.
Gosh.
So I'll let you go first.
The moment I saw this, I was like, did y'all not know about cop cars? like literally, like did someone hit you over the head and didn't tell you about how good cop cars are? And then when Gen Con came around in Golden Age, the fact that you can perplex up the car's movement and that affects the ATA. And I was like, hold up, wait, no, it should be locked because it says 4. Nope. So, like, one of the first things that needs to have happen with that ATA, it needs to say 4 locked, or movement locked. So you can't perplex it up or perplex it down, and people can't hose you over that way. The next thing is, if you use the ATA, I would say it has to also say this move actually cannot cause damage to occur. And that's it. And then that would fix everything. If you said, hey, value locked, this move action cannot cause damage to occur, that way your Lex Luthor still has to do a normal power action to attack. So he has to spin his gauntlet. Your GCPD cruiser doesn't, get to free run over people and cuff them to the bumper and just do massive civil rights violations every time it appears on the map. Okay. It tones it down, and it still makes like playing with a horde of normal GCPD still very viable. I still like my Gordon. I mean, and that's the other thing. It still makes Lieutenant Gordon valuable. The ATA just says like, oh yeah, you went and spent $20 to get 2 Lieutenant Gordons. Guess what, son? We just gave you the finger on that, and we just gave you Lieutenant Gordon for free. Don't you feel good for giving WizKid some money? Yeah, no, you did. Let me pat you on the back, and we reach into your wallet and pull out $5 more because we can. That's what I feel about it.
I do think you're right that would fix it, because the problem with the ATA is not any other figure really except for the cruisers and the pilot ability. I mean, that is the problem. It's not...
Yeah.
And also Lex, but with that stipulation that you said, that fixes the Lex problem too. And I think you can't make it more expensive, because when you play a police team, generally you're playing a lot of figures. It's more of a swarm team, and if they make that ATA cost more, then it hurts it more than it would if you cut the movement down to like 2 or something. I mean, that's another option. They could cut it down and then lock it, like maybe 3 and locked, and maybe that would be enough to sate some people. But I don't know. I'm kind of biased on it because I love it so much and I play it so much. I can't. Obviously, I don't want them to change it, but it is pretty good. I don't know if it's. I guess Golden Age wise, it's extremely good. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
What Lex are you talking about specifically? Like, what's the trick with him?
Here, I'll pull him up.
Because I hadn't heard about
what George played at Worlds.
Yeah, it's just the pure fact of it's wild cardable.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, play something with Cypher where you can try to copy Heroes
You
for
can do
Hire.
that and then get a free
The Heroes
slot
for Hire
with GCPD
specifically says
each
you
card.
get
so-
your token pool
So George
before the
said.
game begins. So copying Heroes for Hire doesn't do you any good.
Yeah,
So,
I
I
definitely.
mean, that's one of those things.
Speaking, and the next thing on the list kind of goes hand in hand. The cruiser pilot ability. I mean, if they fix the ATA to not let cop cars take advantage of it when they do the move, then I don't think that ability really absolutely needs changed. Period. Austin's got his
I
hand
was
up.
going to say they could change it to where instead of it being a move action, it requires just give them a power action, then give them a move action as a free action that triggers it, which would fix the ramming to where that has to be done by them and not done for free.
That's a good point. Did you catch that?
Well, yeah, I heard some. Here's the problem is with the way that they put it, is that they just said the cruiser pilot ability has 2 pilot abilities, and that's the problem. It's like, okay, are we talking about cuff to the bumper or clear the streets? Because I think part of the problem comes in is that clear the streets is good in one way, cuff to the bumper is good in another way, and if you've ever been locked down really hard by 2 cop cars, I'm going to tell you that's one of the most frustrating HeroClix
It
things.
is a very painful
I know. I
experience.
love to do it.
Police brutality.
I've done it in the 2 Shatter Stars, and the grace of God, I'm going to do it to somebody here, but I don't know when. But that's part of the problem. I think when you start saying, like, all right, clear the streets, I think people's biggest issue is it's LAMP 2.0 cheaper. Like, literally, it's cheaper. And even at 98 points, I've never got all the goodness that I got in LAMP that I do in a cruiser, and I got more health, and I can heal up the vehicle and everything else. I mean, it's broke good strong. I mean, you would have to say, I would say roll for damage on a 5 or 6, you do damage. So then it makes it so that there's a risk, or even say 4, 5, and 6, you do damage.
Would you
But
still
I
give
think
the placement?
Yes, you would still get a placement. The placement, I don't think, is the issue. Because no one was like, oh, yeah, the cop cars are broke because they always move me out of place. That's a little bit. It's more like, man, that cop car is broke because he killed me and never rolled his dice the entire game.
Yeah,
think
and I
that-
couldn't get away from him no matter what I tried to do.
And the placement's important
Yeah,
in normal
he kept
person.
resisting my ability to ask for the charges which I'm brought up on.
Yeah, he didn't
which
read
they
me
won't tell
my
you.
Miranda rights. Just chokehold me against the freaking
Police
cop.
brutality.
Yeah, I agree. I like using the placement myself. I think a lot of times, especially with police, if you're playing a theme team and you have like a lot of little officers, especially if you're
Yep.
playing swarm team, I mean, putting that, hitting them, running them over, throwing them out in the middle, get them out of stealth, throw them right in the middle, and then all
Beat
your
them with the riot
your-
officers and shoot them out.
your cops can take a couple shots. A riot officer can come up and billy club them and tase them. I don't know. That's a tough one to fix. I think you're right, though, that even just a slight thing like rolling to get the damage and only having a chance of getting it would help. And especially if they change the ATA too, that might help alleviate the cruiser itself a little bit.
I find it funny. We're probably having more discussion of this watch list than anyone at WizKids is probably doing.
But yeah, I mean, the cuff to the bumper, if we look at it, did it need it? No, but it was also one of those whiz kids trying to fix the meta for us and saying, hey, hypersonic speed's a problem. We're going to use this vehicle that you normally buy and most people weren't even interested in so that you can handle hypersonic speed. And it's like, you should have picked. If the vehicles had either come to the bumper or clear the streets, if it had one of the two, I don't think anybody would have as many problems with it. I still think, clear streets would be nerfed just a tad. But it's the fact that they can keep doing damage to you and you can't run away.
Yeah.
Like you're just stuck. And they're so deep that you can't kill them. Like even if we said, hey, a cop car has 3 less clicks of health, we were still like, oh yeah, the cop car, that's fully worth its points. It's awesome. It's that
Yeah. I was listening to one of your podcasts. I don't remember which one it was. It was a few episodes ago, and you brought up a point that I was like, this guy read my mind because I was saying the exact same thing at the same time. Back when Batman came out, and everybody's freaking out about the Beetle, and I'm just sitting rubbing my hands together, going, "Yeah, nobody's paying any attention to my little cop cars here. Like they're gonna be the problem." Yeah.
I remember people getting so upset. Oh, cop car again.
Like our venue, our local. I mean, everybody was worried about the Beetle, and nobody paid attention to the cop cars really. But I saw that the cop cars are going to be the mainstay. The Beetle is not. Yeah, I don't know. The Beetle's another discussion for another day. I didn't think it was as good as everybody thought it was.
But I know I'm sort of jumping, but if you think about it, Brother Voodoo is the solution to vehicles, aka the Beetle, aka the cop car, and that because it's just like, oh, I mind control the cop car, eject the pilot, kill your pilot. Sorry, your cop car is sort of crap now.
Right.
I mean, and that was the cool thing about Brother Voodoo. When he came out, I was like, solutions to cop cars. He's awesome. But that's jumping the gun just a bit.
Well, we can do him real quick. I don't think he actually needs to be changed. I think if there's one thing on this list that I can say doesn't need to be changed, I would probably make it Brother Voodoo. If they do change him, I would say even just the slightest of changes would even it out. Maybe just not give him the +1 attack, on the mind controller, something small like that. Because especially if they change Heroes for Hire, I think he's not as big of a problem. I don't think he really deserves to be on this list. What do you think?
I am biased toward my Black Heroclix, so I can't lie. I'm straight biased. Like even you listen to like the characters I play, it's like there's a lot of Black Heroclix on there. I'm like, yes, I collect them and I love them. So when it comes to Brother Voodoo, when I put my fanboyness aside, and I'm like, okay, I got to put my adult, serious meta hat on. The first thing I would say with Brother Voodoo, where he might need to be tweaked, is by saying, hey, you can use mind control as a free action if you did not do so last turn. And so you just can't be spamming mind control every turn.
Yeah, the two turns in a row is really, really good. Or maybe you can't use it if you've already taken an action this turn, so that way you couldn't do something, give them a token, and then do it. That would solve it too.
Yeah, because pretty much what was going on is they were trying to make mind control more awesome, and this is something that, and I'm throwing it out there, and I guess a lot of people haven't thought about why Brother Voodoo is the way he is. Brother Voodoo was designed way before they even started working on the pack. And where mind control is going to work with running shot and charge and all the other jazz. So this is actually what we're getting is something that was built for a world without the new pack. And so when we look at that, it's like, dang man, what did Brother Voodoo do? He made mind control cool again. He was the one that everyone was like, hey man, like what are those crazy words coming out of your mouth? That sounds awesome. I'm going to say those same things too. That's pretty much what Brother Voodoo was. It's like, oh, mind control is awesome again. Check out Brother Voodoo. And when the new pack came out, it was like, oh, Brother Voodoo really didn't become less awesome. It's just more people became awesome like him.
Right.
And so that's why I'm like, yeah, he's great. But the other issue I look at is like when you're talking about like that +1, removing the +1, then we have to look at Omen, which no one's really talked about.
Leave Omen alone.
We've been talking about her a lot because we've used her a lot, especially Austin, and
I love that figure.
She's a huge pain in the ass that nobody ever thinks about or talks about, and I don't know why, but somebody's going to use it at a big tournament to great effect.
Yeah, so Omen gives us -2 perplex.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, that's way stronger than Brother Voodoo's +1. Now, if you were going to say, hey, guess what? Who he mind controls doesn't get a +1, I'd be all for that. That's not a problem. let's take that part away, and either give him infinite mind control, and whoever he mind controls doesn't get a bump, or he loses his bump in infinite mind control, and whoever he mind controls gets an attack bump. I think either way would work. You know.
Either way, just a slight change is all he really needs, though. You think?
Yeah, just a minor change. I'm still so biased. I'm so biased.
And then real quick, we skipped over Batmite. Batmite, I haven't gotten to play. I've looked at him and theorized on him tons, and of course, he's a pain in the. I mean, he's so good with so many pieces. I have played against him, and I do. He's a hard one on this list to come up with solutions to fix. I feel like I haven't played with him or against him enough to make a intelligent decision on this. I will say that he is definitely extremely strong. When I ran up against him, was against it was in a side tournament in the finals, and I was playing against a guy who ended up getting second at DragonCon, I think. And he was using Batmite and a 300-point Trinity of Sin team base.
It was Bob. This is his name.
And would just have Trin Sin run out and do their thing, and then move over a space or two in his starting area and teleport them right back to him without, you know what I mean? Like, and even with me playing GCPD and being able to get across the map faster than most other pieces, it still was just such a, a hit and run, such a big pain in the butt that I just could not deal with. I still actually had him down his last click. I mean, it still was as close as a match can get, but Batmite is very strong. Like I said, I can't make a very good suggestion just because I'm not familiar enough with this. I'm gonna let you give us some insight on Batmite.
Batmite, when he first came out, I was like, he's the most brokenest thing that's going to happen this con season, and no one listened to me. And and that's the funny thing is when you're right at first, everyone thinks you're crazy.
Yep.
And then when you come back and tell people later, like, I was right on this, they're like, man, it was obvious. You're just saying the obvious.
I know exactly how you feel on that.
I wish I could pull up posts where I can just throw it in people's faces. But I'm not that kind of guy. But when I look at it, and I'm just going to sort of look like point by point breaking it down. You're my hero. It's the fact that that's a trait makes it so that I'm so glad that that's a trait and not a special power. Because if it was, oh my gosh, what was it? Hope Summers would be the goddess of the new age meta. With Batmite, they will rule and form a country of their own.
I'm on board.
The let me help. I think that's part of the problem. It's the fact that he has to roll d6, and then he can put his idol adjacent to him after he's done the move action. And when you start combining that with TK, you're talking about getting to the other end of the map guarantee. And I think that's where we start saying, like, oh, here's our problems. 10 range prob is another, here's our problems, when you just took 10 range prob away from every other probber in the game.
Yep.
So even if you said, hey, guess what? We got rid of all that idle crap, and we just left him with just ignore all that white special powers. He still has Batman TA and 10 range prob and 10 range outwit and 10 range incap. That is way too strong.
And the taxi ability.
Yeah. So when you look at all of those elements together, it's like crap. Like the am I bothering you? I would say am I bothering you has to say when this attack hits.
I second that wholeheartedly.
It can't be just targeted.
I don't know what they were thinking when they did that.
They weren't.
They were thinking money.
Yeah, well, it's because they give these away for free. This isn't. I don't think it's so much money, but it's okay. Like just reading the power. Am I bothering you? Batmite can use incapacitate characters that Batmite targeted, not hit, just targeted with this power last turn. Can't target Batmite or Batmite's idol with an attack until your next turn, which means that I make Galactus my idol, and I have leadership, and I have somebody to give me willpower. Not Harvey Bullock. Forget who was it?
Harvey Dent from Dark Knight
Dent,
Rises.
yeah.
Or the Streets of Gotham.
Yeah. So once I start getting leadership and Harvey Dent, I can perma lock down a character and say, you can't attack my Galactus because Galactus is my hero.
Yeah.
Oh, Zoran the Tester is my hero. Oh, you can't touch Batmite because that's child molestation. That's part of the big issue. And you would say, like, that wasn't an issue at Gen Con. Yes, because Ghost Rider just came in and stole people's souls before he even had a chance. But if you actually start looking at a long-term exchange, that might always scales upward in point. And I would say he scales upwards from 200 points onward. And that's something you don't see in HeroClix. Is you'll see characters that will be like, oh, in 300 points, and then I'm good, and then 500 and 600 points, and I go down from points from that point on. And there's some characters from 500 point on to infinity, they're great. But that might, from 200 points, which is substandard, all the way up to infinity points is good. If you just move him out once and get your other hero there and give them a free action to just teleport and smack some dude in the face, that might have paid quadruple his points.
Yeah.
You know, because look at it. You can't TK Colossals. You can't TK certain duos.
Team bases.
You can't TK team bases. And you can make team bases your idol. So it's a lot of things with Batmite, and even more so where it gets really petty is like his little defensive powers. Like, hey man, I get super senses, and if I get it, I get to go back to my best buddy. And it's like, no, dude, I was going to kill you. I was going to kill you, fool. So he's hard to pin down. Like, they really, when it comes down to it, they'll have to take out all the free action BS, and they just have to, like, make, am I bothering you? Like, hey, you have to hit. Like, and I don't even think that's on their brain right now. I think the only thing they're thinking about is the movement element, which the movement element isn't as much of the problem as that character can do a freaking free attack and do crazy damage. But that's my rant. I hate him so much.
We our very first episode we did, or maybe it was our second. Actually, I think it was our first. We went over the con exclusives, and this was the one I chose to go over, and I was calling it out then. I was like, this guy is going to rule the meta from here to infinity. And like you said, there's got to be some major... I don't know exactly what to do, personally, because I haven't used it that much, but there's got to be some big changes on him to balance him out. And also, why only have to roll a 1 to take the damage? Why is it not like at least a 50-50? Like, why a... less than 20% chance that you're even going to have to take the damage on his let me help power. Like, I don't know. They just he's just so min-maxed on every ability. It's just crazy.
And it's not just that he's min-maxed on every ability. It's the fact that everything that was a support character in his point range got nerfed so hard after the rules change.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I don't think all of these characters are designed at the same time. Like, you could say Obnoxo the Clown is designed after rules changes, and I would think, no, he was probably, retrofitted with the new rules. There's some other characters, I'm like, okay, you might be able to argue for Wonder Woman and Superman, or Superman and Wonder Woman, or whatever else, and maybe a couple of others. But I could probably say, I don't think Batmite was designed in the same batch as the rest of the con exclusives. I think he may have been designed during the Batman set. And it was like, you know what, this would be an awesome chase, Yeah, that's awesome. And they're sitting around patting themselves on the back, and it's like, you know what, guys, I know how we can make a lot more money. Let's make this a con exclusive, and that will definitely guarantee that the numbers are packed this year at Gen Con. And that's what the conversation was like. And so they took that out of the chase for prime rarity or wherever it was, and then put in some more Batman characters. And it's like, yeah, that's good. They'll love that. They'll eat that up. And that's my hypothesis. I have no evidence nor conversations I've had to back up any of that. So don't be speculating too hard.
Well, what makes me laugh about Batmite particularly is, like, if I think about, like, a fan of Batmite making a custom one with this exact setup and posting it on the forums, he would have been run off HC Realms, they would have found his address, they would have burned his house down, and, like, this is the dumbest figure ever. But it doesn't register with me how they can make something with this much utility at 65 points. That's just, it's hair pulling out frustrating.
Real quick, before we let you go and we move into the end part of our podcast, I want to end with a question to you. I want to kind of get a quick summary of your overall thoughts on the current game state. And that, I guess that is a harder question to ask now that we've had the announcement of the watch list, and we don't exactly know what's going to come of it, what's going to end up happening, if anything is going to, happen with it. But what's your current thought on the game state compared to maybe previous times in the game's history, because you've been playing for a long time, and what do you kind of foresee for its future?
I'm going to be honest. Like, I kid you not, if I didn't have a show and I didn't have a lot of people I talked to, I probably would have quit HeroClix right when Team Bases came out. And if anybody looked at my blogs or even some of my podcasts back then about me trying to beat Justice League, I did a whole thread on AC Realms. So if you go and look at Dark Logos on AC Realms threads that I've started, if you go back somewhere a couple months back, and for those people in Super Future Land, it's the year 2013, probably looking somewhere around that period in the early part of the year, first half of the year. I did so many experiments on how to beat the Justice League. I spent 4 days just straight working and calling people and doing tech and then making counter tech, and it was just like, oh, I don't know what to do, and it was frustrating because Team Bases, in my opinion, took the team building element out of the game and said to guys like us, guess what? We at Game Design know so much better about team design than you do, that what we did, dog, is we heard you like team. What we did is we put a team in your team to give you teamception so you can perceive the future in which we're going. And oh yeah, dog, we have it set up so that you buy this team-based thing and it's incomplete, so that you have to buy more crap that you would want. There we go. There you go, man.
It's so true.
That team base, you want that cool effect right there? You got to shell out another $25 to get that extra booster, baby. That's how we keep that crack flow coming. And if someone said, if someone told me, like, maybe when I started, that WizKids is the equivalent of a crack dealer, and that we're the fiends, then I'd be like, nah, man, this is fun. But when I look at how WizKids has been operating recently, with the meta, with their buying purchase, I'm like, dude, they're using straight psychology that dealers use on fiends, and I know about dealers and fiends. I've seen them. I've interacted with them. I've prayed for them and tried to help them, but this is straight like abusive situation where, it's like Ike and Tina Turner, where I feel like I'm getting slapped and then told to make music, So, sort of taking away my diatribe of looking at the meta and being focused and saying something a little bit more intellectual is this. I think the best time for HeroClix was right when the pack was announced at Amazing Spider-Man, before the ATAs, before Teen Titans, everything else. And if you even listen to my show, I was like, this is the best of time for HeroClix. It can only go up. And then, stuff hit the fan. And I mean, that's even with, and think about that, that's even with the Infinity Gauntlet being out there. That's even with the Utility Belt being out there.
Yep.
It's just that everything else that came out just made those two elements way ridiculous. I think that if a positive conversation happens between game design, the game testers, and then some other respected people within the community, where it's not just tailored like here metagamer or here casual gamer, but actually sort of us getting together and talking, I think the game can be so much better and richer as a meta with more options. Anonymous put out his thread, and he said, like, we need better game design, we need more silver bullets. And my philosophy has always been, no, we don't need better silver bullets, we need less DS that breaks the game.
Yeah, I agree.
And so silver bullets, from a game design perspective, the only thing that silver bullets do is make meta shifts. It never fixes problems. All it does is make meta shifts. Because you can say, oh, look, Nightcrawler was broken. Nightcrawler was there to fix structural integrity field.
Yeah.
Oh, Nightcrawler's so broken because of the way he's designed, we have to create Bullseye. Well, what does Bullseye do? Bullseye completely negates shape change and super senses from the meta because everyone's afraid of playing Bullseye with Thunderbolt. So you can play Nightcrawler, which still has a relatively high amount of safety because he's going to be packed with TK, and he has a high movement, so Bullseye can't just out and out shoot him on the other side of the map. You know, Nightcrawler has to do his thing once, and then Bullseye's like, ha-ha, I got you, little elf, I'll pin you to the wall. But from Bullseye, he ruined about a year's worth of meta, and then here comes Superman, and Superman says, and people won't admit this, but Superman is a direct response to Bullseye. Because what did we see all of a sudden coming out of Superman? Lots of impervious, lots of 4 damage, lots of 11 attack. And for us to get 4 or more damage and super strength. And for us to get that 5, 6, 7 damage out before, we had to invest 200 or even 300 more points so that we could do that for one figure to get that Kamehameha, super attack off. And then Superman said, man, screw that. All you have to do is pay 150 points. and then pick up a heavy and you do 6 damage. So that's all you need. And so even we see it collapse down some more with Marvel and DC 10th, I was like, these fools are high. They must be on crack, and they have
They're on their own
pay.
products.
Because there's no reason why I should be able to up front get 11 attack, 4 damage, running shot with freaking 12 movement and 8 range. This doesn't make sense. Yeah, he's crap afterwards, but I've killed everything. It's done. And I mean, you have your Fast Forces Supergirl that does that. You have your Dark Phoenix. You have the Magneto, the non-crappy Magneto. I mean, I look at the game, it's like they're just trying to make the game go faster and faster and faster. And then they said, oh, crap, we made the game too fast. We have to slow this down, but how the hell do we do that and keep people buying? And like, I don't see that happening. But yeah, so I mean, to answer your question, I think the meta is probably, we're going to start looking at things that came out in Fantastic Forces, sort of mechanics of, hey, we get you to the other side of the field, and actually look at what that meta was for those 2 years and what came out of that, because we did get Lamp out of that. We did get the Green Lantern, KC Flash meta out of that. We got the Nova Blast meta out of that. We got the Green Lantern tank meta. No, the Green Lantern tank meta would predated that. But we had several meta options that were viable. So if I was to say, like, hey, what's going to rule the roost for a while, until they nerf team bonuses, team dials are going to rule, because Shi'ar is the biggest pile of BS, and I love them. They're the biggest pile of BS because Lysandra is Batmite Jr.
Yep.
For all intents and purposes.
I just used her last week.
Yeah. And then they made, the Oracle? Is Oracle like 49 points?
Yep.
Yeah, Oracle's 49 points. So you have 7 characters on your team base, and you put 2 Oracles on there, that gives you +9 to map roll. Or you could put Lilandra on there, and I think you have enough for a utility belt or a bat signal. Yeah, you have enough points for a bat signal.
Yep.
Excuse me. And so you're just like, oh yeah, I popped somebody off. Lalandra's tired, bat signal. And I think that's more potent than Justice League or even New Mutants, but that's a whole different story. But I think team bases are going to rule until we make something that's absurd, and then, which is our Ghost Rider tech, which is the absurdity. And then once that's resolved, I think the next thing that will come up is, can we turtle harder? And there's going to be a Bunker 2.0. Mark my words. Mark my words. And Bunker 2.0 is going to say this. I put up barrier, and I'm either going to do one of the two functions. Either A, my barrier is permanent, or you need to do 4 damage to destroy my barrier. And then that will slow down a lot of figures. And it will bring pace back to the game. Or instead of putting out 4 barrier markers, I can put out 8 barrier markers or 6 barrier markers. And then make it like a generic. So that, or it'll be like generic Green Lantern Corpsman, learning to wield the ring, put out barriers and crap like that, or something like that. You know?
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. There's going to have to be a defensive swing, but we won't see that until next year. But what we're going to see that's going to come up is, hey, kids, did you like Cosmic Spider-Man? Guess what? We gonna make everybody Cosmic Spider-Man. Iron Man's Cosmic Spider-Man. Batman's Cosmic Spider-Man. Heck, Superman could be Cosmic Spider-Man. Hold on, how we gonna make everybody Cosmic Spider-Man? It's called improved targeting. AKA, we found a mechanic that we saw that you would buy in droves, just so that you could keep shooting stuff. So
it's good too, because I was getting bored of actually, strategizing and stuff. So
I had this problem about thinking. I didn't like doing it.
I'm glad they prepackaged my team in a box for me so that I don't have to build my team anymore.
Hold up. That was the one thing. That's why Fast Forces existed. Was that people would just show up to a venue,
right?
Buy the Fast Forces, and the team was in the box.
I know, but they weren't They weren't always usually all that great.
Chaos War.
What are you gonna say, Austin?
I was gonna say that at least with the improved targeting, it destroys the terrain you shoot through, so it won't be as bad as I'm standing in the middle of the Metro Globe.
Yeah, but what if you...
out.
I was thinking about this the other day. You have somebody with improved targeting that can blow through walls, and yeah, you're right. It destroys the target. But what if you have just throw a belt on them with the cowl, and then now you're stealth from them shooting through the terrain that shoots on their... Like, I think it's a bad move. We'll see what happens of it.
I'm hoping it's not given out like candy.
For you is what happens if you have the cowl in the hand ATA.
Oh my
and you're
gosh!
still by blocking.
Yeah,
you're untargetable.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. The cowl, but I didn't even. I forgot about the hand
then
ATA
Hobgoblin
too.
Prime becomes gun.
I don't know, man. I guess we'll see. I would love for. That's my favorite thing is team building and strategy. I mean, that's pretty much all of our favorite thing, of course. And yeah, I just hate that the current game is dumbing things down. I mean, that's pretty much the summary in a sentence is dumbing the game down.
I want to play just
during team construction and during playing the game. I mean, I wish we could get back to around, like you were saying, around like maybe DC 75th era, but without tactics like feats and conditions and stuff like that. Like just when the game was not everybody and their mom had move and attack, and you had to actually worry about not everybody had indom, and you had to actually worry about pacing and placement and everything instead of being able to go wherever you want and do whatever you want with ridiculous values.
Well, like I said that after Gen Con was the most fun I have with HeroClix is actually playing Street Fighter Clicks only, because there's like no indom among the set. It's a lot of chess-like play, a lot of moving, positioning, picking off certain pieces. It's really smart play. And I really want to see more of that in the main superhero sets overall.
I don't think we will, but that's where I wish the game would return to myself.
Well, and here's our issue is this. Because playability has gotten to this super steroid chicken mutated, form, in which we can't get off our mutagen fix. It's the same problem that Seth Johnson dealt with before Armor Wars. Because when we look back at like Legacy and Icon, those are two older sets that still scare people. Think about that. And then saying, I am the guy that's going to get you off of Legacy KC Green Lantern, Icon's Vet Superman. Like, I don't know how many people played against the Icon's Vet Superman with the Infinity Gauntlet. That just, oh my gosh, I had people give me dirty looks.
I've used him once, but not with Gauntlet, but I have used him with Utility Belt, and he was just, the Indom alone was just ridiculous.
Yeah, he's super strong. But it's, if you look at what did Seth do to depower the game, and then also look at what was done with feats and ATAs. And some of those feats and ATAs that came out outside of freaking nanobots, which when they had the public discussion, I was able to like PM Seth and I said, are you sure you typed what you typed correctly? And he's like, yes, that's good. And I was like, I am sure what I typed was correct. I was like, do you understand how broke this is to give free healing out? Oh, no, man, we think it's fine. And then nanobots ruled the meta for freaking 2 years. If you're looking at what did they do, they went to what's called like the golden ratio, which was 917. And 917 made it so that you had to roll an 8 or higher to hit anyone. And everyone had a 9 attack or less, and the peak attack was 9. What we have gotten to now is our new golden ratio is 10-18 and 11-19, but the problem is the amount of stat mods that we have in the game is so much more abundant than the BS pit crew and 15 con artists.
Yeah.
That you can't rebalance that. Because if I said, oh yeah, I have an 11 attack, unless I'm a colossal, everyone's going to be like, well, you have an 11 attack and you're going to be hitting me for 3 to 4 damage. You're not going to be, now you're going to be like, oh, you have an 11 attack, you're probably going to be hitting me for 5 damage, and I'm going to eat 3 of that here, and I'm probably still going to have impervious. Like, that wasn't the case, back then. So what will have to happen is there's going to be a massive depowering, and this is the next part that's going to piss everyone off when I say this, is they're going to do what they did for Web of Spider-Man to everything that they have now, which means is they're going to rotate it into early retirement so that the game can reset. And everyone's going to be pissed if they spend all that money.
I would honestly be fine with that personally, but I know the average person probably wouldn't. Yeah, you're right. They're going to be mad that they spent all their money on the sets, but outside of that, I mean, that's one of the better ideas to try to remedy the situation.
Like Magic's done that for years, and honestly, I love it because, like, for example, this last year of Magic, I haven't wanted to play because I didn't like the current set that was in. But the new one that's coming out is going to completely shift the metagame, of course, because it's a new set full of stuff. And it brings new teams, it brings new strategies that I might like to play more than what made me not want to play for that year. I love rotation systems, and I really hope they don't... I don't want them to ever abandon that, because it sucks not being able to play all your stuff all the time, of course. But it's healthy for the game as a whole to have some sort of retirement system.
Well, Edward,
yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on today, and I feel like we've gotten some good ideas floated out into the podcast atmosphere. And
yeah, and then you guys have to come on my show, and we'll sit and talk about podcasting.
Absolutely.
That's just so meta.
We'll set something up. You guys can check out Edward's show on, like I said, on YouTube. Starting Over Podcast has his own channel, and he has tons of videos, over 70 last time I was looking, and tons of good information, very knowledgeable and very useful. Basically, I'd say you focus almost all of your attention on gameplay. Would you say that?
Team building and gameplay and analyzing people. I am the guy that tells you how to get inside of your opponent's head. And I would say the one thing I respect about your show is that you're able to bridge between that starting beginner player to like what I do. Like I kid you not, I have tried so hard, like, well, let me try to take this to the basic core root and make it fun, and then I'm just bad at that, and just really bad. And you have guys like you and Push to Regen and Glass Cabinet. It's like, hey, y'all, you're able to give the basics really good, and then when you get to a certain point, it's like, all right, what's next? And it's like, Jack with their head. That's what's next. How do I make this better? That's what's next.
Yeah.
You know, and then you come to my podcast. And yeah.
Well, you guys check out Edward's YouTube channel, subscribe, and you guys can catch us on there coming up pretty soon, maybe in a week or two. But thanks again for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks again for coming on, Edward, and we'll have to have you on again sometime because
Definitely.
we really enjoyed it.
No problem. And remember, you can start this show over some other time. All right, I'm out.
All right, better. All right, let's get into some news real quick. There was tons of news this week.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of spoilers, so we're not going to sit and go over each one of them because there were a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh! Spoilers to begin. You know, there were, what, four?
Four Yu-Gi-Oh! Spoilers.
5, actually.
Were they all from the starter set, though?
Yeah, they're all starter sets.
Okay, so they spoiled 5 of the starter sets pieces, and none of them have special abilities.
Except for one.
Except, which one?
The Giant. It has the
Toss
set
him the
trap
Giant.
thing.
Well,
Okay.
I was going to get into that. None of them have special like attack powers or anything on their dials, but all the images said not final image. And then on the very last one that they finally spoiled, the card did not say final image, or did not say that disclaimer, and it has the trap ability on it. Was that the Death Sphere Lamp, right?
No, that was the...
It's
Or the other,
Yeah.
the other dude. But I would say nobody was excited about these initial announcements. Like,
I didn't think they were bad, but...
just the fact that there were no special powers and they felt like they were not.
It's just, you know...
They're starter figures, though. Like, to me, it was like, oh, it's a starter set. They're trying to pull a different demographic into HeroClix. So these figures need to be pretty straightforward. But it also doesn't help that these are creatures in the card game that aren't effect monsters. They don't have special effects. They're just straightforward beaters. So I think when we get to the main set stuff, we're going to see more complex effects. And especially now that we've seen the trap and set ability and the spell ability, I think there's a lot of potential to see some stuff.
So on TCG Player, which is a card game website for Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh!, they have a spoiler. Oh, it does also still say not final image, but it looks pretty final to me. It's a Hitosumi Giant, and he has a special ability that looks like the same symbol as the Death Trap symbol. And it says, it says trap/spell. When this character is KO'd, or when building your force by paying the green point cost,
Which, it's only got a purple. It's actually a mistake on the...
add this dial face up to your trap spell pool. Give a friendly Yu-Gi-Oh! Symbol character a power action to set this dial from your pool by choosing spell or trap and placing it face down on that card. The set character may use the effects of that spell. The spell is called Ring of Magnetism. Give the set character a power action and modify its defense value -2. When an opposing character targets a friendly character that is not set with an attack, then the modifying attacker's attack value is -2. When the set character takes damage, the spell is removed from play. Spellbinding Circle is the trap. When an opposing character with a higher point value hits the set character with an attack, you can activate this trap. The attack is evaded, and this trap is placed on the attacking character's card. A character with this trap on its card has -1 damage.
Jeez.
Give a character with this trap on its card a power action to remove the trap from the game.
and if you notice on his dial in the bottom left, he's got the 3 little dots. The sculpt will probably pop off. So when you put the dial face down, it's not going to be as bit of a...
I was going to say, I imagine if they'd have to be switch clicks if they're doing the whole dial-only set.
It's complicated,
Cool.
but I like it.
It's kind of like Death Trap. What I was saying about Death Trap. Cool that they're trying something different. They may have gotten a little too convoluted. The trap option sounds a little easier to understand than the spell option. We'll talk about this more once we get some more of these spoilers and we can kind of see where they're going with these. We'll kind of go back and analyze it. But for now, at least they're putting something interesting in this set. Same way they did with Batman 66. we'll see if it turns out that worth buying into, or
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
we'll comment more on it once we know more about how it'll actually play out.
Oh, my favorite spoiler for this week. So we got a Mage Knight spoiler this week, and it's for 2 mercenary characters. They both have the mercenary team ability. At the beginning of the game, you choose a friendly character with the highest point value to be this character's team leader. A character using this team ability modifies its defense by +1 within 4 squares of its team leader, uncopyable. It's not like an amazing team ability, it's just +1 defense if you're near your main guy. It's kind of like a boss thing.
Yeah.
But both these characters are straightforward melee piece minions, and they're really fun pieces. The Zandressen Windsman's the first one. He's a Atlantean.
He's got swim, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got swim, but he's an Atlantean, which is awesome.
He's got pilot.
Soldier.
He is pilot.
But his movement abilities, he can use Flurry and Force Blast, and when he uses Force Blast, subtract 3 from the result of the D6 minimum result 1. It's not great. It's still, the only problem I have is I think this figure was designed. Well, no, he's got a pink power. I don't know how that's going to interact with Force Blast and Flurry are going to interact with each other. Because doesn't Force Blast trigger on any attack now? So you would knock him back with the first attack and wouldn't be able to hit with the second?
Maybe.
So you'd have to be hitting someone with combat reflexes
If
or
only
charge to
we'd
get both
have
attacks.
some kind of judge in the room.
If you have Flurry and Force Blast and you hit somebody, would they be knocked back before you can do the second attack?
Well, now with Force Blast, it's optional.
Oh, it is optional?
Oh, yeah.
The
Okay.
attacker chooses, so you could not do it the first time, and then the second one you would knock him
never
back.
mind then. So that was what we were discussing because he gets Flurry, Force Blast. But for 40 points, looking down his dial, first off, a 40-point figure with blades is nothing to ever scoff at. A 40-point figure with precision strike is nothing to scoff at. And he's got combat reflexes, all that fun stuff. Great figure overall.
Great team ability.
Amazing team ability. An amazing keyword, Atlantean.
I think he's good for the set.
Oh, he's definitely good
as far
for
as
the
what we've
Yeah,
seen
we
for the
gotta
set.
look at him
He's pretty
compared
good.
to the set when it comes to point values and everything.
But I love this second one's probably my favorite, and it's the Gosselite Sword Brother. He's got Martial Artist and Soldier. He has improved movement ignoring characters. His movement ability is he can use Flurry. When he does, he can use Sidestep immediately before making the second attack.
That's good.
So he can swing, move 2 squares, ignoring characters, and swing again on someone else.
Basically,
if he
what
wants to.
Pounce,
Yeah.
what you call it, used to be.
But the thing I really love about this piece is he has Empower as a minion, which is ridiculous. So you get one of these guys, you have him in there, he's swinging up a storm. You could sidestep to position him next to an ally who's about ready to flurry himself, swing on him, push himself down, and then your ally all of a sudden has +1 damage for his flurry, which is 2 damage overall. It's a cool piece. It's also got the mercenary team ability. It's 45 points. This piece actually is a piece that I would play even in normal Clix. I think for 40 points he's not astounding, but he'd be a fun one to run with some good support teams and stuff like that to back him up.
I am actually really looking forward to this set.
Yep.
And the reason why is we've seen 5 or 6 of these figures so far. The values aren't... It's kind of what we were just talking about with Edward. The values aren't ridiculous, and there's not a lot of move and attack.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel a lot more tactical. Like, it does feel a lot like the Street Fighter set, or, things like that, where there's not a lot of move and
I
attack.
think that's what they're
And
doing.
There's not a lot of indom.
There's a lot of willpower on the dials, which I like.
Right, but there's only that one piece, the main orc guy, that had Indom out
And
of
he's
all
like
the...
175
He's like
or
140 or something like
Yeah.
that. So I'm really looking forward to the set so far. And I was already kind of looking forward to it anyway. And I need to play... We need to play the board game too.
Yeah.
There was one Star Trek spoiler, USS Hathaway. It's a 75-point Federation figure. Trade is when it has exactly 1 action token, it can use prob control. It can also use Outwit, but only to counter combat abilities. Now, let's see.
So you could get rid of flying.
I'm trying to think if the way they worded that, if you could use Outwit 24/7 and then only use prob control when you have exactly 1 action token. I think that's what it's saying, but they should have actually flip-flopped those sentences. They should have said the Outwit one first and then the prob control one. So I think it has 24/7 Outwit traded, and then when it has 1 token, it can use prob control. It starts with stealth, but then it gets a special movement ability, hypersonic and running shot. When it uses hypersonic, it must be given a double power action instead of a power action. and it picks up some energy explosion. Low damage, but it has energy explosion and perplex. I like it.
And the support on the very last click.
With the and top click too, yeah. With the trait plus the dial, I think he's pretty dang good for this set.
Definitely.
His range is a little low for the set, but he's only 75 points.
He also has the Federation team ability, so +1 defense if anything has an action token when it attacks him.
I can dig it.
I can dig it.
I like it.
DC 6 or Batman 66 came out this week,
Oh man.
and I haven't picked up any of the Clix yet,
Yep.
but I saw some of them and they look
Those
great.
Sculpts are awesome.
They look
Sculpts
amazing.
are awesome, and the Batmobile dial is out. Oh, one thing I wanted to note that Dwayne was telling me Thursday, the card for the bookworm, the special object that comes with him, can only be found in the Batmobile box.
What?
That's what he said. He said the card for the bookcase doesn't come with bookworm. It was in
That's
the
so weird.
Batmobile
That is
box. So
extremely strange.
the Batmobile's not all that excellent.
It's just cool.
It's
honestly.
it's traded is when you play it on the 75 point dial, which is autopilot. When a friendly character named Batman is on the map and has no tokens, Batmobile is not dealt unavoidable damage from being given an action that included attack. So basically, it can attack without having to take the autopilot damage. That's pretty cool and flavorful.
I love the flavor of
yeah,
that,
the
yeah.
fact that it needs Batman. They have a special movement ability that they get on their piloted dial towards the end. You give them a power action, and you give any other friendly characters with a police keyword a move action as a free action with their speed value halved. Now, it itself does not have the police keyword, so you're not going to be able to make teams with it, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
its pilot abilities, prereq for one of them is Batman family keyword. When the Batmobile replaces its values with the combat values of its pilot, modify any one value by an additional +1. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Bat computer pilot ability prereqs are Batman or Robin. At the beginning of your turn, roll a d6. On a 3 to 6, it can use Outwit until your next turn. That's pretty good too. The numbers on the dial aren't great. It does get some Psychic Blast and some Flurry.
Flurry Karin.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive for what it does. Compared to the other vehicles, it's not that good, but it's very flavorful, and I'm sure it'd be fun to play.
It's a display piece to me. Like,
Yeah,
that's
definitely a display piece. I think piloted and autopilot, it has lots of flavor. Like, it has some flavor because the pilot ability, you're getting a decent attacker, but you're also getting those cool pilot abilities with it too.
Yeah.
And then autopilot, you're getting the whole. If you play autopilot with Batman on the map, then you're getting some bonuses too. So hopefully, there's some people who are looking forward to that. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, the big one. Ironmonger.
Oh,
Ironmonger, I am so happy with this piece. Every time
This
I
is
look at this
perfect.
card, I love it.
if you asked me when they announced, like when they showed the 12 days of Clixmas and showed all those figures, he would have been bottom of the list of ones I was looking forward to. But now that they've spoiled this dial, this is perfect to me. This is what I want in a super rare. It's
Yeah,
a
he's
great
a perfect
sculpt.
super rare.
I really love the way they did his point cost setup, and I wish that more pieces would do this. Basically, if you play him at 140, he starts with Running Shot, Impervious, and he does either Exploit or Psychic Blast. And he's basically a good attacker for 6 clicks at 140. If you decide to pay 25 points more, he starts with Stealth and Mastermind and Outwit, making him a totally different figure for those 2 clicks. I mean, that plays totally different
Yep.
than this. So basically, if you want to build a team around him and build, give him some minions or something, some robot, maybe he makes some Iron Man drones or something you can mastermind onto, then you play him at 165 and he plays totally different. If you just want to play him as an attacker, then you play him at 140. But I just love that for only 25 points you have those options, and that the options
They're not bad ones.
that they change by paying more instead of paying less. I hate when they're the opposite setup. So hopefully this is a good sign of things to come. His traits are so sick.
They're amazing.
Corporate Takeover. He is a wild card but can only copy the TA of an opposing character instead of a friendly one. Not only that, when he is copying a team ability, opposing characters cannot use that team ability. So you take theirs away from them and you get to use it.
Batman.
Then he has Perplex, but only to modify an opposing character's defense -2. He has 6 range, so the standard range on his Perplex.
You could use that trait to steal an ATA or to lock down an ATA, couldn't you?
Yes, you could.
So, like, you could take Heroes for Hire, although he can't use it, you would at least prevent your opponent from using it. But it's wild cards. So you have to be
okay, I
within range
see
to
what you're
copy it.
saying.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you could still use it.
Well, you would have to have tokens on your card.
Oh,
You
yeah,
wouldn't.
yeah. Good point.
But
yeah,
that's-
just taking it away from them.
That's such a good, like, there's...
Sick.
The thing I love about that, though, is it plays off Iron Man pieces. And he has Stark Industries. Stark Industries pieces have issues with stealth. So, like, you could take Batman Ally away from a Batman team and lock him down. You could do, you could take anything like Avengers Initiative to guarantee you're going to look through stealth on other people's teams. There's so many fun options.
Obviously, you're forgetting the Assassin's team ability because everybody plays Assassins all the time, Austin.
Yep.
You should have mentioned that way before Batman Ally.
Yeah,
I'm
seriously.
sorry.
Well, I see that all the time.
No Mystics either.
He is a badass attacker because of his damage power. He has Exploit and Psychic Blast. And if he uses either to target Iron Man or Tony Stark, he gets an additional 1 damage.
He's got the traded -2 perp, too.
He's freaking tasty.
Jeff Bridges is looking mighty fine.
And his sculpt looks really good, too. Kind of like Heartbreaker Iron Man,
Yeah.
except not as gay.
Yeah, indeed.
Because he doesn't have a penis coming out of his chest. It's more like a vagina, actually, if you look at
There
it.
you go, exact opposite.
I think
which is
they're
what
made
we
for
need.
I
each
love
other,
this
Austin.
flavor text, too.
You need to play them together.
I will play them together.
That's it for news. A quick just the tip this week. I have another Hammer of the Book of the Skull tip for hammers. Even if you're only playing 1 or 2 pieces, if you can afford extra hammers, run them. Just for the fact of dropping the free Quake. I mean, who doesn't want a free Quake?
Oh, no, screw that. After last week with Dracula getting tons
Well,
of free...
that's what I was going to get at with the second part. Especially if you're running a vampire or a figure with steel energy, that's free healing. Or if you're running a ranged piece, when they run into base you, free action Quake at the beginning of the turn, knock them back so that now you can shoot them.
Yeah, and it goes good with the remembrance that in the 2013 PAC, if you hit, it knocks back. It's not
Right.
if you damage.
You don't even have to actually do damage on them. Yeah, the freaking Dracula with book. Actually, I think we talked about it last week.
We did. And
So good, but yeah, if you got that extra, if you can swing the points, even if you're only running a couple pieces, run extra hammers just for those free Quakes. Because we saw it played to Mass Effect. We've seen it played multiple venues on vampires to great effect, and I have a team coming up. I'm going to be using that. Going to exploit that a little bit as well.
Really?
I did forget one news announcement. XMen Days of Future Past. I assume it's going to be a CTD set.
it is.
And
it's
announced, and it's 24.
It's comic based. It's not based on the movie, which is what at first I thought it was going to be based on the movie, but it's a straightforward CTD. It's got a good count of figures.
24 different figures. It says.
No, that's the count of the actual.
No,
how
it
many
says
boxes
24 figures to collect.
Yeah, it says
Oh, it does
24
say
to
24?
collect. So that I would assume that
Huh.
they mean.
Well, usually they say that on CTDs, and it's talking about the number of boosters in the CTD. So I don't know.
Pretty cool. I hope it's going to be a while before it comes out. We got too many things to buy
Seriously.
already coming
And
up.
then Cap Winter Soldier has been, I don't want to say leaked, but like we knew there were going to be a set anyway, but now it's on retail.
So many.
I assume that'd be for the movie.
Yeah, it's
right.
for the movie.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There's so many CTD sets coming out. You got Batman 66, Mage Knight, Yu-Gi-Oh, Thor: Dark World,
And the second Yu-Gi-Oh set's locked in now.
Invincible
They already have
Iron Man, and there's another CTD set coming out too. I think I can't
Invincible
think of.
Iron Man's a normal booster.
I cried when I realized
I know.
how close Invincible Iron Man was. Like,
Wait, how close is it?
it's 2 months away.
I was about to say.
Tons of stuff coming out. Real quick, let's move into community. This week's question was, which AVXLE do you want to win the most? First, we'll go over ours super quick, and then I'll say what got the most, what I heard the most answers on Twitter and Facebook and Reddit.
I want that Black Panther.
I know you want Black Panther, and I almost said Black Panther, and then I was like, wait a minute,
There's a Cable.
Lei Kung is in this
Oh,
set.
yeah.
That's right.
And I was like, wait a minute, Cable's in this. I was like, man,
Can I
there's
just
so
get
many-
them all? There's your answer to my question.
Yeah, freaking. I don't know who I want more, Lei Kung or Cable with Black Panther, like right on the back end of that too, man.
I want them all.
So many awesome, and you got Hope
And
There's so
Phoenix
many
Buster
awesome-
Iron Man. That's the one I really want.
Well, no, everyone knew that.
I would have never guessed that. The number one answer I got was probably Black Panther. With a Cable as basically Black Panther and Cable were tied.
Yeah.
And everybody wants them because there's no modern.
I know, right?
And the Black Panther from Cap is pretty good. And actually, the Avengers one isn't too shabby.
Yeah,
either.
I like the Avengers.
But people really want a really good Black Panther.
Yeah, and I want one that has cool special powers that really like highlight him as a character. Like I feel like all his versions are pretty vanilla.
I'm pulling up the Heroclix.com to show what all sets are coming out. Just to recap, there is Batman 66, Star Trek, Mage Knight, Thor, Arkham Origins. That's the other one I was forgetting.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and Lord of the Rings.
There's 4 CTD sets releasing in October. 4.
God.
And there's a Hobbit set coming in December too. Well, that isn't.
This
on there
is
yet.
insane.
Then you have AVX, Winter Soldier.
Oh,
okay,
the solicits up there now.
It has Winter Soldier listed as March and XMen Days of Future Past listed as April.
Open the X-Men one real quick. I want to see. Do they have?
There's a Gravity Feed and a Sentinel pack. It just says 24 figures to
Okay, so it
collect.
has 24 figures.
So 24 for the Days of Future Past, and then let's see what this Sentinel pack.
Oh yeah, there's a
contains.
There's a new Sentinel with it too. Like
Featuring 2 dials, one geared towards offense and another designed for defense. The Days of Future Past Sentinel uses switch Clix technology to alternate the colossal Sentinel sculpts between 2 dials with very different strategic focuses. The pack also includes 48 Horde tokens and 2 maps. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I like when they release.
I can always use more Sentinels for my Master Build.
Well, I always love when they release like these giant products as separate single things you can buy. So like that's awesome.
Man, I've got so much money to spend. This is ridiculous.
I don't. This is stupid.
This is ridiculous, man.
The only thing I see in October that I really, 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 really want is Mage Knight.
Oh, I'm
gonna second that one.
I'm getting Lord of the Rings for sure. I'm getting all of them, but I'm
just
really
like-
looking forward to Lord of the Rings.
It's just like man, it's ridiculous.
So save your money, kids, because there's a lot of stuff coming out over the next couple months.
We're going couch diving for change.
We got out of track here. Let's go back to community. Dial design. We already gave the winner. It was Battering 96 from the Realms.
Congratulations.
He wanted Green Lantern chips from his best build, which he won last month, and now he wants some Superman chips. You guys are making it easy on me. You keep picking things I've already made, and I already have the Photoshops made up.
Well,
for
now
it.
you're just going to make it difficult on
So
yourself by saying.
If you guys want to, I want people to give me new ideas to do because I love designing them and then making Ashley make them on freaking Photoshop because she's way better at it and faster at it than I am. Best build we are going to play. Literally, we're going to leave as soon as we get done playing doing this podcast and go straight to the dugout and do you guys' best build. The finalists were Bob, who had the Odin team.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that one.
Mine was from, I can't think of the names. I'm going to look them up real quick while I'm talking about them. Mine is I picked the Soldier team, which has, real quick, go over the pieces that are on your team.
It's the Ellie Odin from Fear Itself, the 30-point Loki from Fear Itself, 2 Asgardian Trolls, Split Lip, and Tyr from Fear Itself. Does it have a book on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I hope you guys brought.
I brought mine.
Okay. That was submitted from Bob on HC Realms. My team came from HC Realms, from GL Stocky, and it is the Cap from Fear Itself,
Which that's gonna be a fun one to see played because I've been wanting to see that piece played.
the Military Tank, Airstrike Thunderbolt Ross, David Kane, Brant, who gives everybody +1 defense with Soldier, and General Zod that also works well with soldiers, and I've been wanting to play him too.
I love
The only one of these pieces I've ever played is David Kane, and when I saw his team, I was like, ooh, baby, I gotta play this team. I've been wanting to try all these out.
Man.
Yeah, I want to try all these out, so this is a great... And then Gilberg 1111, I think he's from Reddit, submitted a ruler team that Drew picked.
I really like that team.
Madam Mask, from the main set.
Storm.
That's the one. Remember when we very first
Yeah.
started playing? She was the one where she has like outwit, then you give her token, you give her perplex, then you give her a token,
Yeah.
and she gets this. And we were playing it wrong, where she was getting like double of them because we didn't know the rules back then. My favorite storm, the cheap little 58-point ranged beast, Doctor Doom from the Galactic Guardians main set, Deadpool, Death Mask from the Con
You get to
2013.
play that Death Mask, son.
Damon Hellstrom at the cheaper point dial, and the main set Mandarin at 120. So it should be fun. And next week we'll let you guys know who the winner was and how the teams played. Obviously it's going to be mine. GL Stocky's going to win.
Are we going to post to the forum after we're done tonight, at least?
Yes, I will be posting these as soon as we're done.
I don't know, you seemed pretty cocky last time, and then you went like 1 and 2, and then
You're
you were
both
like,
terrible.
I never
I'm
went
gonna murder you.
GL Stocky has sent me supreme tactics to use.
Are you just going to pick the Metropolis map and park the tank behind
gosh.
Perhaps.
it?
No.
Bizarro world.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Real quick, let's move into comics. Anybody read any of the new villains books?
Nope.
I was busy all week.
Okay, I read. I have Penguin right here in front of me. Penguin was my favorite one I actually read this week. I read Dial E, not really that good. I read Shadow Thief, not really that good. Do you remember Shadow Thief was in Hawkman?
Yeah.
And it kind of, in her book, she kind of goes over the whole Hawkman stuff.
Good.
Penguins was really good. Penguins, if you've been reading Detective, I can't remember if it's Detective Comics or Dark Knight. I think it's Detective Comics that's been dealing with Penguin. The Emperor Penguin takes over. It's like his subordinate, basically his vice president. He takes over Penguin, kicks him out, like shames him and all this stuff. So this one is kind of about Penguin regaining the throne, and he plays this like crazy behind the scenes game on this mayor. It's freaking awesome and sick.
Yeah,
It's like really twisted. I love
the
it.
few times I've seen him in New 52 so far, I really liked him. So that's one I'm actually really looking forward to reading.
Trying to look at the list. I also read Superman so far.
Have you read Deathstrokes yet?
No, I have not read it yet. I read Trigons was pretty good.
Good.
Bizarro was meh.
Really?
Honestly, it's
I liked
hard to get
Brainiacs was meh,
that
but
makes me sad.
Zod's and Cyborg Supermans were pretty dang good. I recommend those if you're a Superman. Actually,
What about Hell?
just to learn more about them. Hell, I haven't read today. I just downloaded it. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. I know I read a couple other ones. I'm trying to find the list here of the pictures. But anyways, those were the main ones that I got to. There were like 6 more coming out this week, so we'll be talking about those next week.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be caught up.
I read the first 10 issues of 100 Bullets.
What do you think?
It's pretty good. It's really enjoyable. and
It only
entertaining.
gets better, my friend.
It only gets better.
It only gets. I read about. I was like, I got just a few minutes. I'm gonna sit down and read a couple of these, and I ended up reading like 12 of them, and I just kept going. And then somebody was like, "You got to get back to work." I was like, shit. Freaking.
But yeah.
God, it's such a good series.
And I read the first trade of Hellboy.
Did you now?
Yeah,
You're starting 2 very long, very good books at the same time.
I know. It's a mistake, but it's good.
And how did you like Hellboy?
It's good. It's amazing. It's
Mike Mignolia's art is like.
the art, man.
It's so, well, and it goes hand in hand with the story.
Yeah.
Like it's so
It's subtle. but
weird.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
it has
very
his
defined.
own. It has his own little weird twist.
Style, yeah.
Oh, I know what I read. What else I read? Reverse Flash. It was okay.
Reverse Flash?
It wasn't as good as Grodd's.
Actually, I had read Reverse Flash. I agree. It was pretty okay.
Black Manta was really good.
Oh, I can't wait for that one.
Well, actually, it was good, but not very much happened. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
nothing really happened. It just set things
A
up.
lot of people have been talking about that was their fear for Villains Month, was that a lot of these issues would just be like either, well, there are going to be origin stories for a lot of them, obviously, but like people were afraid that after this whole month it's just going to be magical status quo, everything's done. But I'm really hoping that it does some drastic changes to some stuff.
Oh, Court of Owls is extremely good.
Yay!
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the Talon book at all, but it does. The ending does set up some things for the Talon book that are going to be coming up that are huge.
I still need to read the Talon.
I
book.
loved it. I definitely recommend that. And looks like looks like that's about it for what came out that I have read. Oh, Harley Quinn's was pretty good. Did you guys check that out?
Nope.
No.
Harley Quinn's was good.
She's getting her own comic period here soon.
Yeah, and well, the end of this one shot kind of gives you a hint that maybe Suicide Squad is going to relaunch, because it has her and Deadshot, and there's a couple things said at the end that gives you an idea. Oh, Poison Ivy came out too.
The end of Deadshot's has some stuff about that too.
Poison Ivy, that issue was okay. It wasn't horrible, but
How was Freeze's?
definitely wasn't one of the best. Freeze's was okay as well. And his New 52 origin, his is an origin story, and it's slightly different than his old school origin.
I
but
like his
not
new
massively.
origin story from the Batman Annual.
Yeah.
It's different, but I like it.
It kind of picks up. Actually, it does pick up exactly where that annual leaves off, and it even says like see annual for this backstory. I'm really looking forward to Killer Crocs personally, as far as Batman.
Oh, really? I couldn't have guessed you with how gay you are for Killer Croc.
I love Killer Croc, man. And really looking forward to the Wonder Woman ones too. I'm going to be reading Cheetah this week. So guys, check out these villain books. Most of them are good.
And they're fun one-shots.
They're quick. Yeah, they're fun, like, looks into certain characters that you don't often get a look into.
As I said last week, like, Killer Frost sold me, like, on that character. Like, I want to know more about that character now, which is what I'm hoping out of more of these.
We're going to go ahead and sign off. Sorry we had to rush through everything at the end, but we spent a long time on our main topic, and
we got to go play
we got to
Clix.
get to our venue and go play some Clix and try out these best build teams. So, as always, email us questions at Gmail, Dial H For Heroclix at gmail.com. Give us topic suggestions of a main topic you want to hear coming up. Suggestions for community questions, suggestions for anything, or just I've been getting lots of good emails saying you guys enjoy the show, and
Hell, shoot the breeze with us.
Yeah, just come on to Twitter and talk to us. Check us out, like us on Facebook. Again, I want to thank Edward for coming on and having some good discussions, and maybe we gave some good solutions that some people can some important
people might hear.
Some important people might hear.
And then we could say, "I told you so."
But again, thanks for coming on, and you guys can check out his Starting Over podcast, which is on YouTube. He usually puts out, it seems like one a week, if not more than that.
I want to bring him on again.
Check him out on YouTube, and look for us to be on there coming up pretty soon. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next Saturday.